Charge Blade can output insanely high amounts of damage using its signature move, the Super Amped Elemental Discharge. But to unlock the full power of this weapon, you have to choose the right Charge Blades for the job. In this video, I'm gonna tell you guys which Charge Blades to craft and which ones to avoid. Here are the best and worst Charge Blades in Monster Hunter Now. But before we start analyzing each and every Charge Blade that's currently available in Monster Hunter Now, you guys need to understand one important detail about these phials. These small bottles right here are the source of the Charge Blade's explosive power. Using these phials cause phial explosions, and the neat thing about these mini explosions is that they are not affected by affinity. May it be positive affinity or negative affinity, it does not affect them. Phial explosions are purely calculated based on raw and elemental values. And since weapons with positive affinity always have lower raw damage, they make for the worst Charge Blades. While weapons with negative affinity tend to have higher raw values. And the Charge Blade not affected by the negative affinity can take full advantage of the higher raw. So as a community, we should avoid Charge Blades with positive affinity. You must have high raw. That is the only law for the Charge Blade. This is an important fact that you need to know when deciding which Charge Blades to craft. So now let's take a look at our raw impact Charge Blade options. The Black Diablo's Charge Blade has the highest raw damage, making it the best raw impact Charge Blade. It doesn't matter that it has negative affinity. Your main focus will be dealing the most damage using SAEDs. Not only that, at grade 8, this Charge Blade has 1 point in Part Breaker, a very important skill to have for a Charge Blade build. Part breaks flinch the monster and it gives you a window of opportunity to go for SAEDs safely. While the regular Diablo's Charge Blade has 0 affinity, it has lower raw compared to the Black Diablo's variant. If you're planning to craft a raw impact phial Charge Blade, I recommend crafting the Black Diablo's Charge Blade instead. The Diablo's Charge Blade is not a bad option. You're just better off investing your zennies on the Black Diablo's one instead. And for the worst raw impact Charge Blade you can craft, it's the Odogaron Charge Blade. It has positive affinity but lower raw. If it has low raw, don't bother crafting it. Do not craft this Charge Blade. Instead, save your Odogaron materials and craft armor pieces with Quick Work. This skill will be very valuable for Charge Blades and in the future for the Switch Axe. Now let's go through our Elemental Charge Blade options with Power Elemental Phials. For ice weapons, we have 2 options. You can choose between the Legiana or the Barrios Charge Blade. Legiana has the higher total damage, which makes it the best ice Charge Blade. But man, its design is so plain. Comparing it side by side to the Proto Axe, there's not a whole lot of difference. The Legiana Lance and the Sword and Shield have so much more creativity to them, and then we get this simple plain Charge Blade. What a waste. That's why I suggest waiting for the Kushala Charge Blade instead. For fire, both Rathalos and Azure Rathalos Charge Blades are viable options depending on your build and playstyle. The Rathalos Charge Blade is the best option for elemental attack builds, but for raw offensive guard builds, the Azure Rathalos is better. For thunder, Zinogre outdamages the Toby Charge Blade, but do take into consideration that Zinogre is so difficult to farm for. But then again, farming for Zinogre will be worth it in the long run. The water element though has 2 interesting Charge Blades. We have the Juratotus Charge Blade with Power Elemental Phials and a Jagras Charge Blade with Impact Phials. Now if you really want to take advantage of the monster's elemental weakness, you need a Charge Blade with Power Elemental Phials to boost your damage further. So clearly the Jagras Charge Blade is the worst option. With lower elemental damage and impact Phials, it's certainly worse than the Juratoto's Charge Blade. But then again, the Jura Charge Blade is not a very appealing option as well. Its design is bland and its stats are also not the best. So I suggest waiting for a better water elemental charge blade. For the dragon element, we only have one option, and it's clearly the best one. It's the Deviljho Charge Blade, and it's probably the best Deviljho weapon overall. Even though it has negative affinity, the Charge Blade doesn't really care about it, and it has high raw and the highest elemental stat we've ever seen in Monster Hunter now. So the Deviljho Charge Blade is a must craft. The remaining Charge Blades on the list are status weapons, and personally I don't recommend crafting these. These weapons have impact Phials, and the resulting Phial explosion do not inflict status effects. Only attacks from the sword mode and axe swings deal status effects. And since the Charge Blade has slow attacks, it's not going to be effective at inflicting status ailments. Plus, they have lower raw values. And again, high raw is the only law around here. And you're better off crafting sword and shield weapons instead if you wanna inflict status effects. So those are my Charge Blade recommendations, which ones to craft and which ones to avoid. If you're having some trouble wrapping your head around the Charge Blade, be sure to check out this video right here where I break down the Charge Blade's moveset and teach you some SAED shortcuts. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.